Street-level violence investigations in Toronto, a regulator taking rare action against a sports betting operator, and Olympic hockey games swinging on overtime. Today's thread is how fast small decisions can turn into big consequences. And later in the brief, I'll tell you what to watch for next as Ontario weighs a temporary suspension in a high-profile betting case tied to a former Raptor. Cloudy in Toronto today, with rain and a high near 3 degrees Celsius. In the city, police say a family-related stabbing in North York sent 3 people into emergency surgery with life-threatening injuries. Separately, investigators also describe another stabbing at a North End home where 4 people were hurt, 2 men with serious stab wounds and 2 women with injuries believed to be non-life-threatening. Police haven't said whether the incidents are connected. If you're moving around downtown later, it's a good reminder that these are still active investigations. Details can shift quickly as charges are laid and evidence is tested. Now a fast sports reset because the Olympics are pulling a lot of attention in Ontario right now. Canada is through to the men's hockey semifinals after a 4-3 overtime win over Czechia, with Mitch Marner scoring the winner in 3-on-3. The note to watch: Captain Sidney Crosby left the game and is expected to have an MRI. So Canada's lineup for Friday against Finland could look different depending on those results. And it wasn't just Canada. 3 of 4 men's quarterfinals went to overtime. The United States advanced past Sweden 2-1 on an overtime goal from Quinn Hughes after Sweden tied it late with the extra attacker. The semifinal matchups are set for Friday. Canada plays Finland and the U.S. plays Slovakia. One more Ontario hockey item that's part sport, part civic moment. Premier Doug Ford says he's directed the education minister to ensure students can watch remaining Team Canada games that happen during school hours, with schools deciding how to organize it. Turning now to the main thread today, Ontario's gambling regulator is moving toward a temporary suspension of PointsBet Canada in a case tied to the 2024 NBA insider betting scandal involving former Toronto Raptor Jontay Porter. Here's what's happening. The Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, AGCO, has issued a notice proposing a 5-day suspension of PointsBet Canada's online gaming registration. The regulator alleges the sportsbook failed to properly monitor, detect, document, and report suspicious wagers connected to the Porter case. Porter pleaded guilty in 2024 to taking himself out of games, citing injury or illness, so a group of bettors could profit from bets on his underperformance. He was banned from the NBA. PointsBet's response is that the failure to report was human error. Here's the key point. This is not about whether the scandal happened. Porter's guilty plea and NBA ban are already on the record. The regulator's focus is whether a licensed operator met its obligations to spot and escalate suspicious betting patterns in real time, and to preserve the documentation that makes enforcement possible. Why it matters now is twofold. Ontario's online betting market is built on the idea that legal operators can offer access while also acting as a compliance layer, flagging irregular activity, sharing information with regulators, and helping protect game integrity. If the regulator believes an operator missed those duties even briefly, it goes to the credibility of the system. Second, AGCO describing this as a proposed suspension is significant because it's a sharper tool than a warning letter or a fine. And the Commission says this is the first time Ontario has sought a temporary suspension of an online sportsbook under allegations like these. The risk here is reputational, and not just for one company. If confidence drops among bettors, leagues, or regulators, it can drive stricter rules, higher compliance costs, and more scrutiny across the sector. What could plausibly happen next? This proposal still has a process. PointsBet can respond, and the regulator will decide whether to proceed with the suspension, modify it, or resolve it another way. The practical timeline matters because even a short suspension can disrupt operations, and more importantly, it sets a precedent other operators will pay attention to. And remember that forward reference from the top. What to watch for next is whether AGCO's public reasoning emphasizes documentation failures, detection failures, or both. Those are very different problems. One suggests the alarms didn't go off. The other suggests the alarms went off but weren't properly captured and reported. Before we wrap, a quick national note with long-run stakes. In Quebec, the Supreme Court of Canada has annulled the result in the Montreal area riding of Terrebonne, triggering a by-election after a sequence that included a one-vote margin and a dispute over a returned mail-in ballot due to an envelope misprint. It's a tight reminder that electoral administration details, small errors, can end up deciding representation. Final piece to watch today. In Toronto, police will likely release more information as those stabbing investigations develop, particularly on whether there's an ongoing public risk. Provincially, watch the next step from AGCO and PointsBet. The specifics of the alleged reporting gaps will tell you how Ontario plans to enforce integrity rules going forward. And on Friday morning, keep an eye on Canada's Olympic semi-final, especially any update on Crosby's status. That's the brief for Thursday, February 19th.